Mourinho was right all along about Manchester United's broken system.
Football heritage.
You inherit what's come before.
Inherit. The last time Manchester United won the Champions League, which didn't happen a lot of times, was on 2011. Since 2011, 2012, out in the group phase. The group was almost the same group as we had this season. Benfica, Basel, and Galati from Romania. Out in the group phase. In 2013, out at Old Trafford in the last 16. I was in the other bench. In 2014, out in the quarterfinal. In 2015, no European football. In 2016, comes back to European football, out in the group phase, goes to Europa League, and on the second knockout, out of Europa League. On 2017, play Europa League, win Europa League with me, and goes back to Champions League. In 2018, win the group phase with 15 points in possible 18, and loses at home the last 16. So in 7 years, with 4 different managers, once not qualify for Europe, twice out in the group phase, and the best was a quarterfinal. This is football heritage. And if you want to go to the Premier League, the last victory was 12-13, and in the 4 consecutive seasons, United finished 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Or 5th, 4th, 7th, 4th, 5, and 6. So, in the last 4 years, the best was 4th. This is football heritage. Means that when you start the process, you are here, you are there, or you are there, is heritage.
The phrase football heritage became a mantra for Jose Mourinho during his time at Manchester United. It was more than just a soundbite. It was a prophecy, a warning that the problems at Old Trafford ran deeper than any one manager, player, or season. Nobody listened. It was easier to blame the man in the dugout. But with a decade of constant change and failure since Sir Alex Ferguson's retirement, Mourinho's words have become impossible to ignore. What does it say about a club when 3 of its former managers, Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and Erik ten Hag, are all sacked? It tells you the rot isn't in the dugout, it's in the foundations. It's about a club that has made a legacy out of bad decisions, from botched signings to a lack of long-term vision. As Mourinho himself said, no manager, no matter how talented, can fix a broken system alone, and that's exactly what United has been for over a decade. The unending cycle of failure. Since 2013, Manchester United has gone through 9 different managers in a desperate and ultimately fruitless search for a quick fix. Sir Alex Ferguson's reign of 733 days was followed by a revolving door of short-lived tenures. David Moyes lasted 295 days. Ryan Giggs was in charge for 68 days as interim. Louis van Gaal stayed for 679 days. Jose Mourinho managed for 900 days. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was there for 1,068 days. Michael Carrick was caretaker for 12 days. Ralf Rangnick lasted 179 days. Erik ten Hag has been in charge for 850 days. And now, Ruben Amorim is ongoing. Each man, with his own philosophy and approach, has been swallowed by the same black hole of inconsistency and structural weakness. This isn't about a lack of talent. It's about a club that hires a coach, then refuses to give him the power or resources he needs to succeed. They hire a tactical mind, and then sign players who don't fit his system. They promise patience, but then pull the trigger the moment things go wrong. The Mourinho era. A warning ignored. When Jose Mourinho arrived in 2016, he was seen as the antidote to Louis van Gaal's complicated tenure. He was a proven winner, a special one who could go toe-to-toe with Pep Guardiola. And at first, it seemed to be working. In his first season, United lifted the Community Shield, the League Cup, and the Europa League. Silverware was back at Old Trafford, and fans believed the glory years were returning. But the truth was more complex. The gap to Manchester City never truly closed, and a silent war began within the club. Mourinho clashed with star player Paul Pogba, and his relationship with the board soured. He asked for 4 key signings in the summer of 2017, but only got 3. The following year, United's only major reinforcements were Fred and a teenage Diogo Dalot. Meanwhile, their rivals were making moves that would define their future. Liverpool spent a then-record £75 million on Virgil van Dijk, a move that many called crazy but which transformed their defense. United's big January signing was Alexis Sanchez, a player who quickly became a symbol of everything that was wrong with the club's transfer policy. Despite this, Mourinho dragged United to a second-place finish in the 2017-18 season, an achievement he later called one of the best of his career. At the time, his words seemed arrogant, but with hindsight, he had a point. He was a master tactician working with a mismatched squad, constantly undermined by a board that refused to back him in the transfer market. The end was inevitable. The board tired of his complaints and a fractured dressing room, and Mourinho was sacked. The season ended in chaos, a clear sign that his warnings about deeper problems were already coming true. The Solskjaer experiment. The dream that wasn't. After the darkness of Mourinho's final months, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival in 2018 felt like a breath of fresh air. A club legend, a smiling face, and a man who understood the United way. The team's immediate upturn in form, culminating in the miraculous comeback against PSG in the Champions League, made him impossible to ignore. The caretaker became the permanent manager, and for a moment, it seemed like the dream was back. Solskjaer became the first post-Ferguson manager to secure back-to-back top 4 finishes and led the team to multiple semi-finals. But the dream was built on a fragile foundation. The breaking point was the 2021 Europa League final, a match United lost on penalties. That summer, the club brought in Jadon Sancho and Raphael Varane. And then, in a move that sealed his fate, they re-signed Cristiano Ronaldo. The return of Ronaldo was a PR masterpiece but a tactical nightmare. While he scored goals, the team's pressing system collapsed, leaving the midfield exposed and the defense vulnerable. Solskjaer's assistant, Kieran McKenna, immediately asked, "How are we going to defend?" The question proved prescient. The team became unbalanced, and after a humiliating 4-1 defeat to Watford, the fairy tale was over. But like those before him, the cracks were always there. Humiliating defeats like the 7-0 thrashing at Anfield showed a team that was tactically inconsistent and fragile. Questionable transfer decisions, like the £86 million spent on Antony, showed a disconnect between the coach's vision and the club's actions. Ten Hag's public fallout with Cristiano Ronaldo created a toxic atmosphere in the dressing room, undermining his authority. By the summer of 2024, the trophies weren't enough to mask reality. United had finished 8th in the league, their lowest position in decades. The flaws that seemed minor at first had become fatal weaknesses. Ten Hag, like Mourinho and Solskjaer, was dismissed, becoming the latest manager to be consumed by the storm. He lasted just 2 months in his next job at Bayer Leverkusen, a brutal reminder of how fragile a manager's standing can become after leaving Old Trafford. A new chapter, the Ruben Amorim dilemma. Now, the storm has reached Ruben Amorim. His time at United has already seen some of the darkest pages in the club's history. The worst league position in decades, the most goals conceded, and the fewest scored. The question is obvious. Should United keep faith in Amorim? The answer, as difficult as it may sound, is yes. Because Mourinho was right. If United continues to change managers, they will continue to inherit the same failures. Amorim inherited a squad that was broken mentally and tactically. Since his arrival, the results have been poor, but a quick fix does not exist. The latest transfer window was incomplete, the squad still unbalanced. And yet, there have been sparks of progress. Players like Bruno Fernandes are still fighting for him. Amorim must be given time. Without stability, there is no path forward. The Glazers, and now Ineos, have tried to replicate Ferguson's model of an all-powerful manager without creating the structure needed for that manager to succeed. Every coach is set up to fail. The club must break this cycle. They must back their project, allow it to be built, and give the manager the authority and resources required to fix the football heritage Mourinho warned them about. Ruben Amorim's first summer transfer window at Manchester United saw a significant overhaul of the squad. The club's transfer strategy, which is based on data and a long-term plan, saw them prioritize the attack by bringing in players like Brian Mbeumo, Matheus Cunha, and Benjamin Sesko. As a part of this strategy, some notable players were moved on. For instance, Antony was sold to Real Betis, while Marcus Rashford was loaned to Barcelona, and Alejandro Garnacho was sold to Chelsea for £40 million. Goalkeeper Andre Onana was also loaned out to Trabzonspor, a decision that followed the signing of Sen Lamens. These moves were part of an effort to reshape the squad and align with Amorim's vision, with the club hierarchy supporting the plan to get rid of players deemed extraneous. And so, the legacy continues. Manchester United finds itself at a familiar crossroads. Yet again, the question is no longer whether the manager is the problem, but when the club will finally admit that the root cause lies in its own fractured system. Time and again, coaches like Mourinho, Solskjaer, and Ten Hag have been cast as the villains, only to be replaced by another man facing the exact same structural failures. Ruben Amorim now carries this weight, and his bold decisions in the transfer market show he's trying to break the cycle. But will the club give him the time and control he needs? Or will history simply repeat itself once more, proving that Mourinho was right all along? The next chapter of this story is now being written.